Woohoo!
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Mom's Favorite Podcast. I'm Zakira.
And I'm Puce.
We're doing this for a second time in a row because sometimes you just fall down and you gotta get yourself back up. The podcast is officially out, which might be surprising to hear right now because we're 7 episodes deep, okay?
Ish. Correct?
Me.
Yeah.
I'm taking my sweet time editing the thing. So sorry. But we are officially out.
Zakira is working as hard as she can.
As slowly as possible as well. I am doing it. I'm doing it. But guys,
if you want Zakira to do it more, harder, faster now, comment, please.
Yeah.
Now.
I need some
please,
motivation.
More podcasts.
I need some motivation. I need you guys to help me do that. But yeah, so we're officially out. YouTube and Spotify are currently our domain.
Yeah.
The world is our oyster.
Go to our, profile, our channel, whatever, check the links, because if we're out on other platforms that are more shareable to you and your friends, we'll have them listed there, in episode descriptions.
Yeah, I think we talked about trying to do Apple Music.
Yeah,
we got some hoops to jump, but we're getting there.
My job is figuring out how to get us on every platform that y'all could listen to us on. I don't know. It's just real that you guys are on the other side now that you're able to interact with us, because we did record, 6 episodes before we finally started releasing them. But,
yeah.
Here we are. You're meeting us a little bit closer to real time.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to mentally get past my own perfectionism so I can start fucking moving.
Yeah, dog. That's what I'm working on really heavy right now, too.
Been sitting on these podcast episodes like they're eggs, but they are not fertilized. I'm just a brood hen. So
we just gotta birth them into the world.
Yeah.
It's super helpful when people are excited to listen to you on the other side.
Yes, it's giving me the motivation I need to actually just sit down and do the goddamn thing, cuz sometimes that's the hardest part. This is something that you mentioned. We were taking the dog out before we sat down. Made sure she got all of her bowel movements and urination done. But she found a cicada in a pile of brush.
It was kind of already on its way down. It was already struggling
dying
to fly, and I think it had just hit the ground and was just rolling around in some sticks.
Most definitely on its dying day. They are doing their fuck me song.
Yeah.
Where it's
loudly.
Their last stand.
And some of them are already falling to their death.
It's my last time to have sex! And they're just screaming on the trees. But this one was definitely on his last leg. But then you mentioned
it was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I think it was maybe 2022, perhaps 2023, but it's definitely easy to look up.
Because they kept calling it the cicada apocalypse. Everybody was this is going to be super fucking intense.
Because, I think that particular brood of cicadas, if I'm remembering correctly, was dormant for an especially long period of time. But in case y'all don't remember as well, there was a time just a couple years ago that I think you should absolutely read about, because it is one of the funniest things that
happened in real life.
Happened, and it happened in real life. And we were just talking about it while we were watching the dog attack the shit out of the cicada in the backyard.
She was munching on
She had her little snoot pressed into the ground every time he tried to fly, and he couldn't. She would just pin him to the dirt.
It was either a swift punch or a total snoot grab.
And she was just staring at him with her cute little ears up and whatever, very interested.
Well, and also
she killed him. She mangled him severely.
Definitely murdered the thing. But Miss Cujo, the dog, is that she likes the idea of hunting things, but she's just not a big dog. So she's not gonna catch anything.
It's not super in her wheelhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
But this dying cicada was a very stimulating hunt for the small girl.
She
was having a really good time punching it around.
These crazy cicadas from a few years ago. This fungus infected the cicadas. It essentially was a psychoactive drug. So these cicadas were tripping their little asses off. But also, it was a psychoactive drug that really made them just overcome with the urge to fuck and to have sex until they died. So I believe that it was also transmitting between cicadas, like,
Right.
by this happening, but these cicadas were just having, like, the most pleasurable experiences of their lives, completely zombified, and their bodies were, like, decaying rapidly because of the fungus. They had no idea, and they were having sex until their butts fell off. They literally fucked their asses off. And they just, like, could not stop it all. So we were just, like, losing it in the backyard, like, imagining if this happened to people, like,
Right.
if it was, like, the new zombie apocalypse
Right.
is actually that
This kind of fungus. Well, because
you're
that's
just having the best time of your life and you have no idea that, like, your body is falling apart. No more pain receptors. You're just high out of your gourd.
right, because that's the extra layer that was I was like, okay, so people are getting the cicadas,
Yeah.
not people,
Right.
cicadas.
Well,
They're
because
getting,
people, they did investigate this immediately after
yeah,
they
'cause
became
y'all are
aware
fucking bananas
of the psychoactive
properties.
effects of this fungus, because people started trying to eat all the cicadas, and the scientists had to be like,
Please stop.
do not eat them. It will not get you high.
It's just going to be gross, and
Yeah.
you're just going to hate it. So please stop.
You could not possibly consume enough cicadas to get high, is
And
what
if
they
you
had to
did,
say.
That's gross.
I was losing my mind reading the news.
That's
the fact that they had to be
crazy.
like, it's actually outside of your reach. You can't possibly eat enough to
Guys,
achieve what you're
it's
trying
not
to do.
for you. But here's the thing. So, like, the fungus aspect of zombification is far more likely than any kind of virus or whatever. So
Right,
that kind of
right.
changed what we know about like zombie movies, whatever. But
Yeah.
then we're standing there in the backyard watching the dog punch the cicada on the ground. And we're both like, yeah, so if this did happen to people, that would be the one that happened to people.
Yeah.
Definitely not the like cannibal one. Like the zombies that like we know in movies that would just like would attack you on the street and like eat you. It's not that. It's zombies coming
It's a
to
sexually
your,
transmitted
Yeah.
zombification.
like the nearest person to you wants to fuck you to death
yeah.
immediately. But then because it's a contagious situation, which I'm
Mhm.
imagining is transmitted via the sex act,
Right.
you both
Yes.
would not be able to stop fucking
Exactly.
each other until you died. And
Yeah.
that's the image
Well,
alone
I
is
think
so
that's-
funny.
That's actually also the part that's so magical about them fucking until their butts fall off, is that, like, you might be
man.
tripping so hard that as a cicada with no butt, you don't realize that, like, you're
Mounted.
falling apart. But then
Butt's gone.
you're not gonna be fucking another cicada with no butt because there's nothing to fuck. And so you're gonna be finding the uninfected cicadas to fuck their butt off. You know, like, it's like, but they don't have to know what's going on. Those guys are just having the best day of their life.
They're
Those little cicadas are just like, wow.
But like in a human context, you would both kill each other trying to fuck to death.
Yeah.
That's
I think everybody would succumb
amazing.
to that.
It
I think
would
that
be
it's
lethal
just
to
the
the
thing
everyone.
that would be really hard to deny.
That's
It's
so crazy. Well, because that's what syphilis
It's beautiful.
will do. It'll make you a silly goose. But also, like
Right.
a lot of the folks who are our founding fathers, I'm talking to you, Benjamin
Yeah.
Franklin,
like
you
fucking all of
syphilitic
them.
freak.
They're
They're
all
all
little
like
beauty
that.
marks, all their little fancy makeup.
All their hairdos.
Every cod piece, you can look it up. Every cod piece was actually just to generally like cover up like syphilitic like growths and lesions.
It's like, I've got warts on my penis.
It was just a fashion accessory that was literally invented to counteract.
I'm bleeding pus out of my hooter hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, but
Woo!
we were
This
standing
podcast
there.
is not for kids, folks.
Oh, yeah. Don't listen to this with
you
your
should
children.
know that if you've been listening.
I
Anyways.
already deemed it inappropriate for kids on YouTube. So if you're getting past the paywall, bad job. Stop it. Don't do it again. That's your mom talking. Anyway, no, but so we're standing there talking about these cicadas and we're both like loving that the cute dog's doing the punching. And then suddenly it hits us. What if this cicada has that fungus? And then suddenly the dog biting holes into the cicada was
like
not cute anymore.
immediately, I was like, wait, maybe she shouldn't eat that. And then she was like, I'm ready to eat it
I'm
now.
gonna eat it now.
For a while, it was just punching it while it would like try and fly away. And she'd be like, haha, no, like, and then all of a sudden she was trying to chomp, 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 and I was like, stop, wait.
At the same time, we come to the realization that her eating it would be a terrifically bad idea. And so, she was feral about it after that because we were both like, okay, let's go inside now. And she was like, no, I'm gonna eat this. Okay. And we're just both like,
she said, please, I've never caught anything in my life.
I know. Right. Oh, and it was very cute. Yeah. Where we were both just like, oh, you finally hunted something. Very sweet. And then just the fear of the fuck fungus. A dog humping you is one of the most embarrassing things.
That could be really messed up. The animal in me sees the animal in you, and I really need you to stop.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like I said, no.
Yeah. Like, I know what you're doing. This isn't foreign to me. Please back up just one.
You can't dominate me, and I shouldn't make you horny.
Also,
move on.
Right. You're also 20 pounds. This is inappropriate.
Anyways, this is a completely different topic shift, but we did want to talk to you today about two things. First of all, the show called Chernobyl. Mm-hmm. Secondly, sacrifice. I had also consumed a bunch of Chernobyl media before you
I didn't
put
know
me
anything
onto that
about
show.
Chernobyl before the show.
That's wild because I feel like you're kind of like a...
I partake in Russian media.
Yeah,
however,
you're a fan expert of that part of the world, was what I guess I was going to say.
Eastern Europe is a place that I like.
Well, and so to be fair,
about.
Me too.
I knew vaguely of a nuclear incident there, but I didn't really understand the gravity of what had happened at all. And I was kind of put onto it because there's a group of, I'm not sure if they're Russian or Ukrainian. Surely someone will tell me. I think they're Russian, though. Individuals who will urban explore the area.
Whoa.
Without any regard for their own safety or health.
I didn't know that.
There's it's like a vlogging troupe of dudes who just couldn't give a fuck.
All right,
at all.
Talk about self-sacrifice.
They've been
wild.
They swim around in the the sunken tunnels
in
Chernobyl, like underneath power plant.
It's using nuclear energy.
That's right.
To generate
they did.
Power. They did.
Before they didn't anymore.
And nobody lives there
obviously.
Now, right? Because you're still exposed to active radiation.
Uninhabitable for the next 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And that was of 84, whenever the fuck it happened. So it's not quite been 1,000 years yet. It's only been 40. So
it was really interesting. Once I finished the show, they give you a little bit more context at the end about how much of the show was constructed from real events, like real recorded conversations and real people. And there is a fabricated character, and she functions as a stand-in for many scientists who are trying to advocate for the state to actually pay attention and validate to the very real danger, because there's a state issue of acknowledging the immense harm that was done.
Well, and that was the thing that I wasn't
in the state of
to.
emergency.
Yes. Right. Is that when I watched it for the first time, I was relatively concerned about the accuracy about it because I wasn't sure exactly how much of it could be true, because
versus,
a lot of it I was worried maybe it was anti-Soviet propaganda, which we already see a lot of.
Right, exactly.
But then when I watched The Lost Tapes, which is a documentary 100% built off of literal footage of the event and the bureaucracy behind it, then I was like, oh, okay. It's basically verbatim.
So true to story.
It's basically verbatim, except for the fabricated character. But she was, like we said, a representative of many scientists, not only in that region, but
in all the connected countries, any environmentalists, any physicists, and nuclear scientists kind of globally responded to the issue.
Radiation made its way all the way to the
Right.
Scandinavian areas.
Well, and it's a containment issue as well. So
it
was
was
like,
affecting, it was going to affect
despite,
everyone.
like, it doesn't, at that point, it doesn't matter if your local government is having a hard time accepting the issue, like other governments are going to be
Globally.
having to put pressure on that
Yeah.
because, yeah, we're on a globe, which means that, like,
Everyone is going to be affected by
contamination doesn't, like,
it's not
regard
discriminating.
borders. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It won't discriminate. It'll get you. And that was the situation that I was like the most critical about watching it for the first time, was just making sure that I was watching everything with like a very critical eye, because I understood that this is like, first of all, Western media. And I know that it's Britain, so technically they wouldn't. I know that you Brits don't like being considered Western or whatever, but you
kind
are.
of like are the establishment of the West. So
you guys
that's okay.
literally
Yeah.
are the West.
I think you can take that as a criticism and move on.
Yeah.
Any British listeners, I'm sorry.
It's because like, and so I was like
Prove me
making
wrong.
sure, because it's like all of the actors, and here's another jarring part about the series is that they all have a British accent, and I'm like, we couldn't have even faked like kind of like a Soviet twang or nothing. We're all British, like we're all British in the USSR. Okay,
Did they pronounce the names well? Because I felt like they pronounced the names
think
well,
so.
though. Okay.
Yeah.
The Russian names.
But I'm just like, okay, I guess like if you didn't want to put on an accent or like have your entire cast have to put on an accent, okay.
Maybe
I
that was a
guess.
specific choice, though, actually.
Generally, propaganda-wise,
Right.
we experience like information from the Soviet Union as being like, okay, there's like a layer of non-truth to this in the
Right.
West. So like having that, like maybe having the Russian characters speaking in the British accent gave them a level of credibility.
Tend to literally respect British accents more than most accents. That's where I was like coming
Fucking
from.
Colonialism.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. That could totally be true too, because and a lot of
they did already, like somewhat translate it. It's almost like we were watching a dub, just because it was never like none of the dialogue was in Russian, and it's an interesting choice to not like have them replicate accents. Yeah.
Yeah, I was because most shows will do that, where if somebody's from somewhere, they will emulate that accent.
Historically based like show. Yeah. That is interesting.
It was an interesting choice, but that logic makes a lot of sense to me, because there is a level of like certain brainwashing that we've all adapted to, where it's like we believe nothing the Soviet Union ever said, but that's because we're American too.
Well, and so much of the anti-Soviet propaganda was happening in the 80s and 90s that I think for anyone who's alive right now who wasn't fully grown at that time is going to be an extra bit immersed in like anti-Soviet propaganda still, and like this weird Red Scare propaganda, all sorts of that kind of stuff, or general suspicion of Russia and Ukraine, and it's generally that outsider like othering,
which is so
paranoid fear. But it's kind of a rough place for people to be, because we don't have an like actual thing to challenge that bias very much, and I think people are still so uninformed about political dynamics, and it's just complicated.
Generally, as someone who is pretty interested and does my best to involve myself in Eastern European like culture, and I'm saying broadly Eastern European because like Poland is very part of this conversation as well,
right?
Ukraine,
and Hungary was right in the middle.
Exactly.
And I was, being physically there, like I learned so much while I traveled to Hungary, and I also went to like Austria. We looked at the Czech Republic, like we visited surrounding countries, but I literally saw the Iron Curtain of their wall of communism, like where it used to be. Like I was in so many historical places where they were talking to me about, like at that point it had only been like 25 years since the fall of communism in that area. And so I was still there while they were like rebuilding their economy, and while like half the buildings are pre-communist, half the buildings are like from that era of communism. Not very many new builds were like they're still finding themselves like after so many political shifts, but a lot of areas in Hungary didn't even have internet access. Like they're just in a completely different level of like global connectivity. And that's kind of a constant thing as far as what I like witnessed on the ground, is just like in Eastern Europe, there's like a separation from the larger global like consumerist like social environment. And I don't think that there's already not very much knowledge or like coverage of their histories or like what people go through, but it's also harder to connect when everyone else is like live on social media, active on global media, and like already has representation of their culture and like empathetic stories about them. It makes sense for other parts of the world, even just Eastern Europe, like even though it's not really thought of that way, to have a really different culture around like their stories and their identity and just like the level of development that they've been able to do in certain spheres. I just, even once I visited and then I came back to the US and I looked for content that like was about the places that I went or like felt nostalgic about any of the culture that I saw while I was there, it was like impossible to find. And any of the things that I learned about communism were like impossible to find reproduced on YouTube or like in any of the media that I could find here. Yeah. Exactly. And there is so little historical representation.
TikTok does transcend though.
Yeah. So that's true. That has been crazy style.
The most awesome part about TikTok is learning about like Russian culture from Russians via TikTok. Like genuinely, it's one of my favorite niche holes to go. There's a lot of propaganda that like doesn't go both ways too. So like genuinely, and I don't know so much about in the 80s, whatever, but my suspicion is that in the USSR, it was about the same as it is now because I can't imagine too much has changed. Our perception has changed, surely, but I don't know if it's changed over there. But when people in Russia, in Ukraine, in what used to be the USSR are asked about Americans, they're so nice. Always. Like, they're always like, yeah, we love Americans. Come over. Like, we'll take you to the blah, blah, blah. Like, they're always just like, yeah, we love learning about new cultures. Whatever. That sounds great. Blah. Yeah. But if you were to do that over here, like, people would be, like, really skeptical and very brainwashed and very, like, oh, my God. Like, no. Like, if a Soviet person asked me XYZ in the 80s, I would tell them to kill themselves. Like, there's a lot wrong with the way that we've been conditioned to believe that communism is, like, a net bad for society, whereas they see us as just other people in another country. Yeah. But I think that's also because they're limited with their media and their output basically into the world.
A lot of it has to do with like cultural perspective though, because really like what I think is, that when you're just growing up like with a different level of exposure to the kind of like propaganda that we face all the time or whatever, you can have more radical beliefs about your government structure and, things like that, that it's just the style of thinking is like a little bit different about communal needs. And like, that's part of what brought me to sacrifice in general today. Anyone who knows anything about Chernobyl, the event in the story, whatever, like shows aside, like probably would associate it with sacrifice. But what really impacted me about the show that we've been talking about is the way that it provided insight into like the social culture and the governmental culture, like at that moment in time about what sacrifice meant, because there were negotiations throughout the entire show about like the kinds of like things they should do about the nuclear explosion that would have, like implied a ton of sacrifice on the part of parties who didn't know they were going to be making those sacrifices, things like that. And then there was negotiating, like sending in a few willing participants. Did they know? Did they not know? In order to try to eliminate the threat to the larger population. It's just a really on the ground conversation about what it will take when you know that human lives are on the line. How do you choose, etc. And the pressure was on in that timeline because, like every other connecting global landmass was like, hey, you're about to affect us.
Yeah.
You know, like we're knocking on the door. We really need you to handle this.
In
And
a centralized place as well, because Ukraine is located so centrally, and it
just
will
touching a lot of regions, a lot of people.
Places.
And it kind of like, in a weird way, the problem that was created, like, ascends above government because it's like back to people and just land masses and where everybody lives. But they were facing, you know, just like a bureaucratic
It's a humanitarian
problem.
issue that they tried to turn bureaucratic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's a good way
well,
to put
and
it.
that's the thing too that really got me excited, because as somebody who like didn't really have that deep of a pool of knowledge about the situation, all I knew was that something exploded in Ukraine and it was bad. Okay. I didn't realize that this was an uninhabitable zone that was created out of pure negligence and honestly, like, naivete.
Okay. And in case there's anyone listening who doesn't know, you know, like at a baseline understanding, a nuclear power plant exploded and the people who were like employed, everybody working there, whatever, was really not prepared for that explosion to happen. And they were also kind of confused about the scale of it. The thing that it came down to was that there are like parts of this exploded power plant that are continuing to emit radiation that are going to continue to make things like worse and worse and worse until they're shut down. But in order to like shut them down or like stop the processes or like contain some of these radioactive materials, because they just infect everything around them. It's a problem of atomic particles. So everything's atoms, you know, it can travel anywhere. It doesn't really matter what, it's just a big force field. People, you know, they tried robots, but like ultimately people were going to have to go to the scene and subject themselves to radiation in order to contain the harm to like the larger globe. So
everyone else.
You know, it's like if you can imagine something like this happening, you really only have like a series of days to kind of first respond, to even figure out what happened, and then to try to like walk through solutions. But then you're trying to come up with lists of like, where could you find hundreds of people that would volunteer to contain this, because you're trying to come up with ideas and like you're up against the pressure of a deadline. It's just absolutely a wild problem to think of trying to solve.
It happened in such a specific place as the Soviet Union, but it was a government greatly led by some level of disillusionment and some level of like general misinformation to its people.
Because I think it made it really succinct, but it was like
the government
our government has to keep up appearances.
Exactly. The government
and this
itself,
power plant is a flex.
The Soviet state wanted to prove its strength to its people.
Yes.
But
there's a unified front issue.
People. So like the general, and there was like a real push to kind of like not make people panic about the situation.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I can argue the opposite. But in most cases, I think that if there's an emergency happening, addressing it is at paramount importance.
Well, the issues that were presented like during the time was that, you know, like the state's interest in not stressing everybody out, you know, like not pushing the panic button about the problem.
But that was
that meant that they didn't evacuate the city. And scientists were like, you need to evacuate like now, you know,
needed
like
to do it yesterday.
We'll come up with a PR campaign. But then you get to see in the show like this kind of desperate communication on behalf of the scientists where they're trying to say things like, you know, the human race has like never made a mistake this huge. Like we just kind of broke something. And it's like,
this is irreparable damage.
The state is like, well, we can't tell everybody that.
The need to cover it up immediately. But also
the show really humanizes that choice. Like I feel like there's characters who some of them are based off of real people who like had to be in that really strange hold between, you know, like their two conflicting choices that kind of like both of their values are held in the balance, but they're on opposing sides.
Pride, embarrassment, like the sense of responsibility. I can see why.
A sense of identity, too.
An identity, right. Like not wanting to announce that you've got this massive irreparable damage that you have caused as a
Yeah.
governing body. And then like admitting mistakes is almost near impossible for any just lay person to do. Like
Right.
even
It's actually just one of the hardest parts about being a
it's
person, I
it's
think.
basically just a knee-jerk reaction to being told
Yeah.
you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice aspect of it though, like if I had the skills and the knowledge and the wherewithal and physical ability to
Mhm.
save everyone I knew, I would not hesitate. And I think
Right.
having given that information
Mhm.
more freely, I think they would
Yeah.
have had a lot more people at their disposal,
Yeah.
because a lot of what happens in the show seems to be like of force, just like a you're going to or else.
They pick off, like first they go ahead and recruit coal miners, but they're not really telling them what they're doing because they're clearly too afraid to disclose that they're going to have radiation that's going to carve years off their life. They don't know how much, time
Yeah.
they'll literally have left.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the charge of trying to ask people to go and be submerged for like 10 minutes and to take that very seriously and to come back out as soon as possible and to like sign up for shifts like that. It's really different because there genuinely are people who like don't want to be involved unless they are making a difference.
I think generally over the scope of the show, it gets more apparent to me that a lot of the evacuation and stuff should have been done fucking immediately. But also, a lot of the people if they'd known,
Right.
it
If
wouldn't
they've
have
been
changed
informed.
anything.
Right.
Like the first responders, we follow a story arc about a woman and her husband who's a firefighter and is dispatched to the scene of the fire.
And this is a real woman.
And a real woman.
They reported on her after the show's story ends.
I've seen interviews with her.
Yes.
Like
her story is to a T
she'll
represented by this show.
Yes. And her husband's life as well is very well documented. And there's this just gross and horrific photographs of him at the stages of decay.
Well, because this firefighter was like one of the absolute first responders to the explosion. So that's like, the top tier radiation exposure that happens of anyone.
Like just the raw exposure. Yeah.
I think he was gone within a few weeks or something, right?
Yeah. So there's a period of time with radiation that you feel as though like you're getting better. And that was the first visit that she got to have with him. When you reach that point, that's when your body is dying, because that's when all of so you have what radiation does essentially is it's like in the show, they describe it the same way, the bullet thing. It's like a million bullets hitting you all at once and it rips you apart. You're not immediately dying. You just have a fucking 1,000 holes in you.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when you go on about your day, your DNA doesn't exist. So your body has no frame of reference or blueprint to pull from. So that's why they use it on cancer patients and stuff. It's to target, it's to kill everything.
Yeah.
They possibly
It's
can.
to make it stop thinking of whatever genetic information it had in that area first.
Kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Erase it.
Erase everything.
Yeah.
And then start again later.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you're exposed to a certain amount of radiation, you can never, your DNA is destroyed. There's no frame of reference. There's no blueprint. So your body stops regenerating and starts dying. When that process happens, all of the cells that are left living, they finish their life cycle, which is why you think you're getting better when they're dead. You are dead. Your body, the skin sloughs off, your organs shut down because they have no way to know what they're supposed to do anymore. Like, even your internal organs don't know how to do their function anymore because they don't have your DNA, which is your biological blueprint, to tell them what to do. So you just slowly die. And
And
it's
what's
just the
interesting
most
also,
horrific death imaginable as well.
the woman that you brought this up about, the firefighter's wife, she like insists on visiting him, even though visiting him also exposes
Exposes
her
her to
to
radiation.
radiation. And she's pregnant at the time. She lies about that pregnancy so that she can see him. The child that she visited her partner with, like arguably she maybe had this drive of carrying that child, especially because she knew her husband was dying or whatever. But that kid did not
Well,
make
and
it.
let's be honest, though, is like I put in her position. I would
Right.
do the same thing and I would do it 1,000 times over.
Well, and that's the point you were making, is that, you know, informed people may not care at all because they tried to tell her many steps of the way that she was killing herself. And she was
I'm
like,
going to do it.
well, I just
anyway.
don't want my husband to die alone. And then I was yelling at the TV while watching the series because I was like, but you're going to have to die alone. You know, like you are going to be dying within the next year because you're like, you don't want to let him die alone. But that was one of the points of like telling this story so long after the fact, is that people were willing to make certain sacrifices.
Yeah. People are so, and that's why I generally have like a very like happy and positive outlook on life, regardless of like my mental state at all times. But like genuinely, I do believe that because I have this quality, you have this quality, that it
Yes.
doesn't matter like what the situation is. If you need me, I'm gonna be there. And
Yeah.
like, especially in her, like put myself in her shoes, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm never going to let you die alone, even if that means that I don't get to live till I'm 90. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like nothing in the world is going to stop me
Yeah.
from getting to you. And I understand exactly where she's coming from. And a lot
Right.
of people probably have like really like, oh my God, it's a fucking fetus. Why would you do
I'm
this
sure
or
people
whatever?
yell
But,
at the TV against her.
but no, I mean, like if it was a life or death situation and I had to make a decision or whatever, that we're the only country who kills the mother every time and keeps the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In basically every other developed world, they will keep the mother and
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
baby
yeah.
because the baby is something that is renewable resource and
Right.
the mother is not. I find myself aligning more with that sentiment that the mother is not the renewable resource.
Yeah.
The baby is.
Well, okay. And here, this is why sacrifice is like such an interesting topic,
Right.
right? Because personally, like on the topic of Chernobyl,
Yeah.
my line on sacrifice is drawn in the sand based off of like personal choice. So when I was watching that show, as accurate as it may be, when there were conversations happening like in, you know, the political rooms where they're making like big decisions, I was constantly angry because I was like, you have to inform the public, you know,
Yeah.
like I was kind of standing with the scientists because in my mind, I don't think that you can make people sacrifices without consent. I don't like, I think
It's not a
that
sacrifice.
it
yeah.
changes the tone of the sacrifice. And the show, I think the story, the way that they told the story, it brings up a really interesting conundrum where it's like, but in some cases, sacrifice is chosen. It's just like it has to do with agency. One of the main scientist characters is desperately trying to get the government to care and take him seriously. And frankly,
Situation.
this guy reminds me of me a little bit. He's like so impassioned. I think he doesn't realize that he's putting people off because they're peacekeepers in the room. You know, like even if
Chronic issue.
they kind of share values, but like he's trying to bridge the gap and he's being really severe.
Right.
But
right.
he delivers a really killer line about sacrifice. He says, "You'll do it because it must be done. If you don't, millions will die. 1,000 years of sacrifice in our veins, and every generation must know its own suffering. I spit on the people who did this, and I curse the price I have to pay, but I'm making my peace with it now, and you make yours." That is like amen to me.
If I could snap right now, I'd
That's
be doing
like
it.
everything to me because it's like, first of all, it says a lot to me about healing in general, like perhaps even a healthy mindset. Something that I've always known for myself is like, it's really not fair that I have to heal certain things, but I am the only person who can heal it. You know, like that's really freeing to me in general.
And I feel
heard
so,
that in
yeah.
him.
Right. And I feel like fist down on the table about that. Like that,
Yeah.
like this isn't my problem to solve, but God damn it, I have to fucking solve it. And I'm
If I
going
have
to do
the
it.
power to right now,
Yeah.
I will.
And it's
you
like,
know?
but like,
It
yeah.
might be unfair, but I will. Like,
Right.
whether it's my personal strife or it's something where
That
it's
might
just I can affect
sound-
change.
Yes.
Well,
it
I'm an
doesn't
Aries,
fucking
so.
feel heroic to me, though. It pisses me the fuck off. And I want, like, that to come out clearly right here is because it's like,
I get that. I relate to that.
Yeah, like when I'm having those conversations, and especially like me and my auntie, we really spend a lot of time trying to heal our like
generational
trauma.
How do I just know?
You're thinking what I'm thinking. But no, like we've both done the work and we've both actually given a fuck and tried.
Yeah.
But when we're doing it, we're fucking mad.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I look at the cards I was given and still have to play those cards, it makes me fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I don't like what he said. I spit on those.
Yeah.
It's
it's a great yes and, in my opinion. It's like, it is not our fault that this happened, but I am not going to let it continue.
But it's my fucking duty to fix it, and I'm going to do that.
Because anything that happens after this could be partially my responsibility if I don't take action right now.
It's very much the I don't do unto you what you do unto me. It's taking what has been delivered to you.
Yeah.
And doing something more with it. Because I think a lot of people kind of operate in life, generally speaking, haven't been given a certain set of cards and then complaining about the cards. Mm-hmm. We know we have to play the cards, so complaining about isn't going to fix it. We just play the cards, no matter how pissed off we have to be about it.
Anger, for me, like, I know it's uncomfortable for most people, and I know that there's some people who shouldn't just, like, act out of anger or, like, let anger lead them. For me, personally, I know that anger is kind of, like, oppositional to sadness for me. Like, when I'm really, really sad, no anger, I'm usually blaming myself for something, and I'm, like, a little bit close to grief and hopelessness. When I'm angry, it's one of the rare times that I know that, like, something outside of me has crossed my boundary. It's important to me. You know, like, it's that something outside of me is wrong with me. Yeah. You know, like, and it does cause action. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, like, go punch anybody about it. And I think that's a really common misnomer for anger. But, like, in this quote, where he is literally saying, you know, like, every generation must know its own suffering, because that truth is like kindness. But he's also like, I'm spitting on everyone who did this. It is also the price that I have to pay because I'm here right now. Yeah. You know, like, that anger is actually, like, causing him to act and to stand up to a room of people who are saying, like, let's just let it fizzle out. Let's just see where it goes, you know? And if he was just sad, he probably would have succumbed to dying, you know? Yeah. And would that have been a helpful sacrifice? No. I don't think so. Because that's not where the power or the value is at all. Right. Like, a hopeful sacrifice is not unknowing fodder that you feed to a fire. You know? Like, it's something that really matters to you that you are willing to offer up in compromise as part of a larger solution.
It's knowing the situation and not accepting that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, and that goes back to, like, this generational feeling, because it's just like, I have no choice but to be pissed off and to be discouraged. And I could sit here and be disparaged by everything that I've been given. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, surely there was so many people who were given the news and understood that there was nothing that they could do. And then there was those people like you and I who just get fucking pissed off. And, like, that's what would motivate me to run into a burning building 100 times over.
I get especially pissed off when I see that nobody else is taking action. And
oh my God.
So sometimes when I'm having, like, that reaction, like, it's because I feel that no one else is going to do the work or no one else is going to care. And that's that kind of moment where it's like, I'm reacting because I don't see anybody else taking action, because other people are valuing their comfort and being like, oh, I'm sure somebody else is going to handle it, you know, like, over just trying something for the first time. But it's like,
where do you choose to be? Do you choose to turn around and walk the other way?
Right.
Or do you choose to take the issue head on? And I'm going to take on the issue. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who you are to me. It doesn't matter what the situation is in pretense or post, but it just matters right now that this is happening and I'm going to do something about it
Yeah,
every
dog.
time.
Yeah,
And
dog.
that really is evident in that quote, but also in just that general feeling of sacrifice too,
Yeah.
where and there people
It's going to be kind of inevitable because sacrifice is part of compromise.
And maybe this is coming too from like our very American experience because like we are kind of conditioned to have a hero complex here. But in a situation where I was given evidence, first of all, but also truth about like what the situation was, there's not any doubt in my mind. And there's not any question about like, and I feel like the character of the minor boss, had he been given exactly the information that everyone else knew, he would still have stayed. He would have still mined. He would have still done with his crew what they accomplished.
Yeah.
Because he understood the implication the event had on every other human being.
I think my thoughts is that there are certain lessons for me to learn. The kind of things that I relate to about the Aries myth in general, like even just outside of astrology, is that there's this kind of stubborn, like, ram that sacrifices itself to carry a few children, like, across its entire back. It, like, leaps across an ocean. And it's one of those calls to action where it's like, I don't care if I die along the way. These kids just got to make it across the ocean. Like, I'm going. Like, there's not a willingness to even wait for a plan, you know? Like, Aries was just the one who was like, I'm ready. I'm not gonna, like, wait for you guys to, like, accidentally sacrifice these kids and have all the further repercussions about it because you're gonna talk in circles for forever. I'm just gonna do it. And I tend to be that way a little bit as well. But it's also partially just because, like, I know that there's certain lessons that I think, like, need to be tested and that, like, that I need to learn in my lifetime. Where if I had, like, a difference to make a situation and it was like a time where I could do something about it, I would really want to try it on for size. As you know, like, but if I have something to give, I'm going to give it. Like, I want to be open enough about compromise that, like, I want to be involved in the current events, and I could not bear to be passive in a lot of circumstances.
Fundamentally change the chemistry of my brain if I knew that there was something that I could do and I did not do it. My like instinct to save everything and like make sure that like people are taken care of and loved and like
I get it though, because I'm, not a girl TM, but that, like, I feel a strongly, like, maternal caring
I don't know what that
edge.
is. And maybe I'm using the wrong word, but like,
no, I think maternal
maternal
attitudes are pretty self-sacrificial.
It's literally that. It's literally giving yourself to someone else.
Or giving your well-being or, like, your security to somebody else, like, all sorts of stuff. Because not everybody will be in Chernobyl, but it better not happen again.
That's why we don't do that over here. That's why we use good old coal, baby. That's why we burn that fossil fuel over here in America. We don't do all that nuclear shit. Sorry.
I had a dream, like, in the last couple weeks, and it was one of those dreams that was so strong and I was so invested. Like, I woke up a couple times, so when I fell back asleep, I went right back into it. The whole setting is, like, generally, like, apocalyptic. It's definitely, like, got some power struggle vibes. For some reason, it was set in, like, a giant soup can, and our resources were running really low. And there was one man in power who reminded me extremely, very much of our current president. But in the dream, being under his power for so long, I had a weird realization where I was just like, I could go further in time, and if he ran for office again, I would tell everyone about I would point out the level of sacrifice that he's requiring of us as a country to be able to further his own dreams. I don't know. It hit me, like, in a really profound way, but I was like, if our current president ever had a chance to run again, I wish that people were more aware, like, in advance. Thank God, legally he's not supposed to be able to run again, but, like, prepare for otherwise.
Legal. Yeah, prepare for otherwise.
What we're really fighting against
Right.
is this guy convincing the general public to continue to follow him.
Yeah.
And, like, I woke up, like, sweaty, but also inspired, like I had a vision.
Yeah, legally, I think I'm going to have to
Spank
shoot him in the head.
If that's happening again legally, yeah, he's going to have to be
spanked
at all costs or whatever.
Like
spankingsquad.com.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, well, right.
The feeling was basically just that I don't think people have realized how much we've been sacrificing under his presidency at all.
I don't think that most people who support our current president understand how much they sacrifice at all.
They are personally sacrificing towards his campaign, but not in the ways that they think they are. And they're also requiring the rest of us to continue to funnel, like, our finances, our health and well-being, our, like, every single thing about us.
I think generally they don't really
higher tariffs.
Right. I don't think they really truly understand the things that they are putting in the balance, because like a lot of them will be like, oh yeah, fuck Obamacare, but don't take away the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Baby girl. Those are the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and
y'all have not done enough reading.
There's
afraid.
so much propaganda that makes it very difficult for the lay person and the lazy person to understand like the implications of the things that they are sacrificing, because they just generally can't get past Fox News.
I'm just like, whether you think you're involved or not, like, your skin is in the game. And that sucks.
People, you're right. The people don't understand what they're giving up, but also like in that setting, they don't understand that when somebody loses their rights, you're losing your rights also.
Yes, amen. So in the case of Chernobyl,
you too,
as the example, yes, like if you personally were called upon to do some work or to advocate to the state and say, like, this is dangerous, and you were like, I don't want to. I don't think I'm brave enough to put my job on the line to tell the state that this is dangerous. That could lead to the deaths of like 400 to 100,000 more people.
Also.
And the entire like country if nobody else picks up the slack behind you.
Well, and that's the thing though, is that it's like,
it doesn't mean you have to react to every situation like you're the only person who can solve it, but some people need to like realize that they have some power to leverage.
Okay. Right, because everyone has the gun held to their head.
Right.
Including you. So it doesn't matter if you don't want to.
Right.
That's the decision that you have to make when you're thinking about other people, when you're thinking about humanity as a whole.
Just a disclaimer. I am in favor of people keeping themselves around as long as possible so that they can make like micro sacrifices. Not just diving into the fire like as fast as possible.
Yeah,
like,
we're not asking you to be David Martinez.
Yeah. Like know when to pull the trigger, but that means not shooting your homie. It's not just going like
don't kill your friends.
Because ignorance on certain situations is really violent. It's just really violent.
Right.
It's just that I see people criticized and like othered. And I mean, generally just the practice of sacrifice is considered like such a weird way to dehumanize people. You know, it's seen as such a violent and like insane act. Like people imagine tribal cultures like cannibalizing each other when they think of sacrifice in the larger scheme. And I just think that there's so many occasions that like sacrifice comes up in our daily lives and in our larger political culture. And I really feel that a lot of people are passing up on certain opportunities to like take it lightly and like destigmatize their view of it and like realize the value, because there is value to like taking on the weight of your generation, your suffering, whatever, if we want to pull directly from the Chernobyl quote, but like sometimes you're called to action.
Yeah. Senselessly jumping into a situation without the proper information is a detriment to everyone. And generally, you need to be able to be not only informed, but educated about the decisions you make.
Yeah.
In this situation, you know, like that we're pulling from haven't been given the correct and truthful explanation, which was generally my caveat to the whole thing.
So that you're able to make a choice. So that you know
correct
what you have to offer.
decision isn't hard.
Right. Yeah.
And in a lot of situations, like I think we all sacrifice a little bit so we can all succeed to the best we can, which we've never really seen in
not yet.
function because no one wants that for us.
Well, but also, ideally, if people split up the share of sacrifice, then you don't leave one person catching a bullet to the head at the end. And that's just what we want to avoid.
Right.
It's like unfair prices paid. You can sacrifice your comfort to say, hey, stop fucking punching people in the face. And maybe risk getting a punch in the face to try to stop that guy from punching somebody in the face that night.
All of us could together be like, maybe don't punch that guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Everybody at the diner having a milkshake who's seeing you try to stand up for yourself and being like, stop punching the face. If every single person at the fucking diner was like, yeah, don't do that.
Hey, that's bad.
Maybe it wouldn't have to happen. But instead, we've got a country full of people being like, let's hear them out. Let's see if they're really going to punch people in the face. They could actually give me lower milkshake prices.
Oh my God, he's punching people in the face. He said he was going to, and then he did. What the heck, dude? I can't believe this is happening. That's what's going on in America for real. But if we all just said, hey guy, don't punch him in the face. Anyway, that's enough out of us yapping and screaming.
Well, I hope that this made you feel like a little bit seen. If you've like been a little bit frustrated with the state of things recently.
We're also so frustrated with the state of things.
Clearly, we're frustrated, but also please check out this series. Like, it's so good.
It is a very good series.
It kind of made me feel like really uplifted and like full of life, even though it's on a heavy topic.
It is. Well, and that's the thing too, though, is that they did a really good job of taking a very sore and predominantly still ongoing issue and kind of bringing hope to it.
Right.
And showing that, the humanity in people persists over the hardship of the situation.
Like,
and
there are choices you can make. Like, there are things that you can do. And when you feel like you're standing out on a ledge completely alone,
you're not.
You are actually, like, backed by so many people who are just right on the edge of being able to do that.
Yeah. Like, not everyone is altruistic, but the people who are and the people who make an effort to be are always revered as heroes in the story.
And we can find them. You can find them, like, they're there.
By name, they're there. Yeah. And that's I don't know. But that's
All right. If you enjoyed this, please follow us, thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment if you're brave, engage in the poll if there is one. Go back and listen to older episodes.
Are you running into Chernobyl, or are you running away? Are you going to the other hemisphere? Anyway.
Fucking no wrong answers. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.